to use Zoom, but I think I can figure it out. And Jason has like a fancy computer setup that I just don't understand.
All right, and just a heads up. Hi, everybody. I just want to do a quick heads up. Actually, I'll let Linda connect the audio first. And there's Alicia.
Hi.
Mic check. Hi, folks. Just a quick heads up that this is being recorded. This is going to the YouTube channel now too, so that it lives there for anyone that missed. So starting now. So make sure your virtual background's set.
Awesome.
But I think we're still just waiting for a few other folks to come in.
Hey, Jason, how do I change the name on this?
I could rename you if you need.
Could you? Yeah, thanks. We just need to swap names since we swap computers.
You can also just click on the little ellipses in the right corner of your name, and then there's a rename.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. I've never done it from screen sharing before, so.
All right.
Sorry.
You should be good.
I'm going to be cooking, so I'm listening, but if I'm not facing you guys, I'm just listening, and so I can get my dinner started here.
Awesome.
Mic check for Diego. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
The last thing I'm wondering if I can present this without seeing the notes and stuff.
If you only have the one screen, no. So you'll have to disable your notes. But if
Totally fine.
Next time, if you had two screens, you could make it work with notes on one and Zoom on the other.
Yeah, that sounds like a Jason project. You can figure that out. I just wanted to do this in like a presentation mode, but you just opened it from my email, so. Oh, it's fine. We're scrappy. Yeah, can you make me present? You think?
It looks like you need to click the enable editing maybe to,
Slideshow?
is that what you're wanting?
It's not really what I want. Oh, it's on the other computer? Okay, that's fine. Let's just do this.
I know of a trick to that too, to go back to the previous screen. Where you had like the two, you can, where there's, again, the little ellipses, you can like make it.
Okay. Jason and I were supposed to do a Zoom with each other so I could figure this all out, and we didn't, so.
Okay, it's a safe group.
I know. Next month.
Lots of flexibility and grace, Mandy. We're okay.
Yeah. Paul, you did send the email out with the link for meeting?
No, actually, I did not do a bulk email. I just did Facebook.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I missed it or not, but.
And I apparently had the wrong Zoom link, but I just put it on the Bancroft website.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Should I send it out in an email? Do we like, is there anywhere else people would be joining if they didn't get that, or they just wouldn't know?
I really appreciated those just-in-time Zoom link emails. So it wouldn't hurt to send it out.
All right, I think I can take advantage of the fact that I accidentally didn't BCC people on the last one I sent out and just reply all with the link. Hold on.
have to turn off my computer or my video.
There we go.
Oh, how did you do that?
Sorry, I'm trying to find, I see the latest email. Is there one that has the Zoom link as well as call-in numbers? In case some people
I just
wanted-
chatted the link out.
Oh, great. But do you have the one with call-in numbers too, if I want to share that in the email?
You know, Zoom's having trouble with call-ins right now, so there's a good chance they're just not active. We sort of got nailed at the U with that, where we were expecting, and then they had turned off all the 1-800s because of capacity. That was just on Friday.
I had to call in with a toll line or whatever, non-toll free.
Wait, is that working for you, the toll line? Who was that? Where is that? Oh, Jason, there you are. Yeah, you're on the phone.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Here. You still there, Sarah?
Yep, I'm just working on pulling up the addresses.
I
Oh,
just
great.
chatted out the phones now, since it's clearly they're working.
Just having trouble. Mute myself.
Sure.
All right, hopefully that just went out. And my kid's Jewish school is playing them the like high double rainbow video. Anyway, so if you're hearing weird things in the background.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that.
I don't know how up to date that email list is actually, and that's one thing just for a soon project we should just check in on.
Yeah. What point do we want to start just for the live stream's sake?
I think we could get started.
For it?
I think we could get started.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Welcome to our Bancroft Elementary PTO meeting, October 26th, 2020. And so let's start off with introductions. So we have new officers since the last meeting. The co-presidents are me, Mandy Stein, and Nicole Infinity. Our secretary is currently Sarah Greenfield, but she is looking for a replacement. So anyone interested in taking on the role of secretary, please let us know. Paul is communications, and Jason Stein is the treasurer. So, anyone want to introduce themselves? Hello, I'm Mandy. I have a third grader in Miss Menard's class, and I have a first grader in Mrs. Lewis's class. Paul.
Hi, I'm V. Paul. I'm this year's communications person, and I've got a first grader in Miss Tiffany's class.
Hi, this is Sarah. I have a third grader in Miss Kennard's class who has a concurrent activity right now, so I'm mostly staying on mute.
Hello, I'm Jason Stein. I also have Sven in third grade and Edie in first grade.
Hi, I'm Nicole, and we have a first grader in Miss Tiffany's class and a third grader in Miss Nelson's class.
Hi, it's Alicia. I've got a third grader in Miss Milton and a kindergartner in Miss Dibbles.
I'll go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diego De Paz, and I'm the principal at Bancroft.
Is that everybody? I can't see all of the screens right now.
We're missing a couple. Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm the assistant principal at Bancroft. And then I think we have Linda here. Who else? Tana.
I'm Linda, family liaison.
I'm Tana. I have a first grader in Mr. Coffey's class.
Awesome. So is that everybody, you think?
And then Jama. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Jama, you were on mute. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but we got to see you.
Okay. So get the mouse over here. All right. Just some quick updates. Bancroft will retain IB status for the 2021-2022 school year, which is super awesome. And there were some worries about that after site council. So thank you to Sue and everyone else who fought for that. I'm very excited. This Friday, October 30th, 8 a.m., coffee, tea, and IB online. So please join for that. Minneapolis Public Schools is considering changing our bell times for the next school year, 2021 to 2022. According to the agenda for the Tuesday, October 27th meeting, which is tomorrow, of the school board, our proposed bell time is 9:10 to 3:40. So there is a video on the Bancroft homepage and a link to that survey. And if you have strong feelings about the bell time, please make your voice heard. because they'll be discussing that tomorrow at the meeting. And I believe there is not going to be any decisions made at that meeting, but final approval will happen in November. So, and then in case anyone is just wondering what the reasoning for changing bell times again is, essentially to reduce costs, reduce bus routes, make those routes less complex. And so if anybody wants a link to the survey or the agenda that has this information, I can put that in the chat. The in-person survey results from the survey about returning to in-person learning is going to be discussed tomorrow at the school board meeting as well. So there is also a link to that information on the results. And I can put that in the chat as well. Meal box pickup. Oh, thanks, Jason.
Mandy, do you want me to say anything about Bancroft specific survey results? I think I touched a little bit on it.
Yeah, please do.
Council
Just
meeting.
told me to pause for comments and questions, which is an excellent idea. So, yeah.
Okay, so I maybe I'll go back to the bell time survey. And so I did
I'll go back
on that. So when we had site council on the 19th of October, this information was not public yet. And so the proposed bell time was made public on Friday when that information was uploaded to the board book. And so this is a 30-minute shift from our current bell time schedule. If we were in person, our bell times are 8:40 to 3:10. And so it is a 30-minute shift later in the morning and later in the afternoon too for dismissal times. And so this draft is being presented tomorrow at, like you said, the committee of the whole or the school board meeting, and then final approval will be in November. And so if there's the people have completed the survey, we have some results from that, and the majority of contestants, people who answered the survey. I was thinking contestar, like you answer it in Spanish, but that's not the right word. And so the people who answered the survey, there was many comments on we should not change it. We already changed because in 2018 we did shift from 7:30 to 8:40, and that was a big change for our community. And so this is now another 30 minutes later. And so if people feel strongly either way, then I would suggest tuning into the board meeting and then making your opinions heard. And so our survey was to gather information, and then I was supposed to share it with our communications people. And so that's been done. And now I think if this is the proposal, then I think people, like I said, if they feel strongly, they can share those opinions.
I've got a quick question before you move from bus bell times. I mean, is that all right, Diego? Yep. So the question I have is and I wasn't at site council. I don't know how many people here were. Is there reasoning why they're shifting Bancrofts when my understanding, just from a general overview, they were trying to bring everyone's bell times to earlier than 9:15, and since we already are at that point with our current bell time, there's not really an advantage to us for shifting, or is there some sort of stated reason for it? Thank you.
So I'm sure in the discussion that will happen tomorrow, I'm guessing there will be more of an explanation. When I quickly looked at it, it looked like they were geographical tiers. And so there were similar schools near us that were shifted to similar times. And I don't think that answers your question, but there was not like a specific explanation given to why Bancroft is being shifted those 30 minutes. But I know they're trying to reduce the number of start times. And then they're also trying to keep schools, I guess, geographically within the same tier. So there's transportation going to certain areas of the city. So again, I'm sure that I don't think that answers your question, but hopefully there'll be more information provided, maybe not specifically for Bancroft, but why they were having these there's still multiple start and end times throughout the district.
So it would be fair to say after tomorrow, and this goes for those of us that are sort of impacted by CDD and where we're going to get moved out of the school. If we end up moving out of the school, like in our family's case, we're zoned for Northrop, it would it would be to my advantage to figure out if what Northrop's bell times are. I mean, I'm guessing Northrop is in the zone that we're in. So the idea, if I'm to understand you correctly, is they want sort of everyone within our sort of geographic area to have the same bell time start.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, that was a quick glance. I didn't look at every single specific school near Bancroft. If you do look in the board book or the agenda and agenda items, there is a slide that shows all of the proposed times. And so if you'd be able to find Northrop in there, or whatever other school people are in the attendance zone for.
I dropped the link to the school board agenda into the comment. So if you click on that, there is school bell time presentation and proposed school bell times. You can open those up and see. Oh, thanks, Brianna. You can see all that.
And the reason I'm going down this route is I imagine would it be kind of in PTO's bucket to just as a communication effort, just say to folks, not only please participate in the bell time survey or please look this over, but also look at what, if you're moving out of the school. I mean, be involved in a way that's not just looking at the 1 year ahead, but a couple of years ahead type deal. Because if that's going to color the way you respond to tomorrow's meeting, for example.
Yeah, I would say, we like to use the word behoove us. It would definitely behoove that family or those families to look at their proposed or potential school, so they could have an opinion either way, whether they appreciate that bell time or that bell time will not work for your family.
I would also say just that kind of to reiterate Diego's point that so the survey was up and then we shared that information that had resulted in the survey from the website with our facilities who was going through all the bell times. And so moving forward, the suggestion, my understanding is to let the board know like your thoughts on that. So just going and like we will share those continually if we get more survey results through what was up online, but also just letting the board know versus that survey. That survey piece was to drive the draft of the bell times, and now we're like beyond that. So now I think letting the board know our thoughts on that.
Well, that's great information. Thank you.
And I also want to address, and I didn't write this in my communication to families because it just became cumbersome, but I wanted to address it at Coffee, Tea, and IB, is that, families will still have the option or opportunity to choose Bancroft as their community school. So in essence, open enroll if you're not in our attendance zone. However, the caveat is that you would have to provide your own transportation. Now that Bancroft will no longer be a magnet school, we will not be able to provide transportation outside of our attendance area. And then the other caveat being if there's space in that grade level. And so if you are open enrolling and your student's going to be a second grader, you can choose Bancroft, and then as long as there's space in second grade and you provide your own transportation, then you'll be able to open enroll in our school. And so, like I said, it got kind of cumbersome to put that in a bunch of words, but I want to share that here, and then I will also be sharing that at Coffee, Tea, and IB with families.
And then Diego in the chat, Alicia has asked, is that for certain? So I don't know if you want to.
Oh man,
for real?
We're live streaming too, right? I'm not going to say anything is for certain, but that is my understanding, that will still be an option available to families to open enroll in schools that are not in their attendance zone, as long as there's space and as long as parents provide transportation.
I think, Diego, you sort of buried the lead there by not putting that into your communication, because I feel like if ever there was a piece of anxiety for folks, it's where is my kid going to school next year? And to know that despite the fact that grandfathering is not going to be allowed, but despite that sort of general communication, to sort of hear that there is a pseudo open enrollment option based on the two caveats, which makes sense what you're saying.
Yep.
That tells, I think that's kind of that'd be a great thing to sort of get out to people as widely as possible, frankly. because everyone's going to be in the boat. Well, I don't know if everyone is, but again, just speaking from personal, we're looking at, is there a way for us to move into the zone? I mean, and if I don't have to necessarily uproot my family and put them in another house, just literally, I just got to go 4 blocks.
Yep.
So, just to make it back into the zone. And I imagine there are others that love the community and that love the ID programming. So, I guess as another sort of for PTO to sort of discuss and or take on into our bucket is exploring this notion and trying to communicate that out to folks more broadly to sort of coincide with whatever Diego's got. I'm putting that onto our plates to sort of discuss as a group. Thank you.
Is there, I don't know, just because I feel like it's 2020, is this some like sort of like secret thing that maybe like the school board would quash if they knew the Bancroft parents were like sort of promoting this as a way to sort of circumvent their processes? Or am I just being paranoid? I guess like I really am I guess I'm like, if there's hope, you're giving me hope, Diego, that I haven't had yet in a long time. And I'm afraid to hope for good things in 2020. And then I'm like, should I say this out loud? So I guess like that's where I'm feeling. I was just like, because I want to. I agree with you, Paul. I know of parents. I talked to parents last year, just like in the CDD stuff. They were like, we moved to North Minneapolis and we couldn't never leave Bancroft, so we like drive to Bancroft every day so my kids can finish off their, go through 5th grade. So I guess like I want to know. I know that there'll be other parents that'll be interested in this option, but I'm afraid to say.
So somebody said, is that for certain? And I don't want to say anything is for certain, but it's been my understanding since these conversations have started about CDD and community schools and new attendance zones that has, and I think Brianna's probably looking, she kind of looks like she's looking on her computer for something, but it's always been my understanding that is an option. As long as, again, the 2 caveats of providing your own transportation and there being space in that grade level and not being oversubscribed.
Right,
and
right.
Linda and Brianna, I don't know if you want to add to that or if you have differing information, but that's always been my understanding.
I'll add that has always been my understanding. Similarly, and just what Linda had just posted here. I mean, this is the caveat of what they say. I just put it in the chat. It says letters will be going out to families who are currently enrolled, explaining basically where you're going to go. And then that letter will help you. I'm sorry, my child is like in the bathroom telling me what she did right now.
It's real life. Yeah, it says the information in that letter will help you decide if that school is still right for you or if you'll need to request a new school. Look up for your community school. There's a community school lookup. And then if you have any questions, call student placement. But that has been, like I said, my understanding from, back in the winter and the spring.
I think that's I mean, still, it's nice that there's a pathway. I can't say from our perspective, and I think I can speak collectively from PTO, that we had that understanding, because we certainly were making plans and having discussions and putting things forward about how do people get around this whole no grandfathering business. So I think if we're going to reuse Diego's word, it probably behooves us, PTO, to sort of help parents find clarity here, because clearly there isn't any regarding this particular bit. So I think that ought to be something that we we're not in CDD land anymore as PTO. We sort of shifted out of what was a site council realm, but I think it probably would be helpful for us to sort of just help people find the resources to find that kind of clarity. And my guess is in terms of process is that everyone who is out of zone is basically, they got to start fresh. Nobody gets a pass. So the sooner you get your application in, the higher you are on the roster, depending on your grade levels capacity.
Right, and I don't know, because they're making other changes to try and promote equity in, or supposedly to, in enrollment, whether I'd be curious if they would give more clarity on if it is first come, first serve, or if they could wait, once you're past all the people who are, in the like guaranteed entry into the school, would they weight current students above just other random new people who want to come? Because I think that would be good. But I don't know if you have any more clarity on that, or if that's something, whether as PTO or site council or other ways as parents, that we can try and advocate for or seek clarity on.
That also brings up, I mean, if they're going to start thinking of weighted applicants, that does bring up this whole notion, and as it relates to the idea of diversity, or in my what I took from them as saying too much diversity when you hit that 80% mark or whatever. Would they start weighting students of color versus non-students of color in the application process at a school that's oversubscribed? I mean, I wonder if that's part of their calculation, and I mean that's a deeper question right there.
Do we have any idea like what the process is like right now, Diego?
Of which process?
The open enrollment process. Like, do you have any idea how that works, or like how they choose, or?
Not for the current setup, no.
Okay.
There has historically been information, I remember reading it when I was doing school choice, on like what the order of preferences is. There's sibling preference, a variety of things. But again, it's been my understanding from the CDD presentations and stuff last year, there was this simultaneous process. So I think some of those things might be from the EDIA or whatever, equity and diversity and inclusion assessment, that there are going to be some changes to that process from what's written. And I don't know if that's posted yet.
I have another just question too. This is helpful for me just to think about, but like, do you know, Diego, if the how they're going to consider at capacity? Like, is that going to be defined by the numbers they projected from that thing from last year? Do you remember?
Yep.
And like, so what does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, this is bringing up some really good questions that I don't have the answers to at this point. And so I know that I think school requests and school choice, I believe, starts December 5th this year. I know that they're doing some of the prioritization of the magnet schools, and doing some virtual tours and some other pieces, because those are totally brand new schools as well. But I mean, this for me, this brings up a lot of questions that I need to find answers to as well. And so what does that process of open enrollment look like? What does it look like for school choice? I mean, these are all questions now that I'm writing down and will have to ask for my associate superintendent, or even student placement.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Adding more to my plate, but it's good stuff. So obviously questions that people have and need answers to.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, again, going back, it's like a buried lead for sure, because this is the thing that's going to spawn a lot of discussion among folks out there that need to figure out where they're going.
Yep, and I will, I'll try and get clarity on that tomorrow. But like I said, it's been my understanding that as long, and it does bring up the question of what is capacity, because if you look at the dashboard for CDD, it shows Bancroft as a projected enrollment of 381, which that sounds crazy to me when we have a school that has the capacity of over 600 kids. And so what is capacity? What will I be funded for? What will be, will they say that I have 380 and once I hit 380, then that's it? I don't know. I mean, those are all questions that will be brought up by this.
Is there anything else on that topic we want to talk about? Do we want to swing back to the in-person survey and the Bancroft results?
Yep, and I'd like to just also swing all the way back to IB and also just say thank you to PTO. And I think all of those efforts that were put forth last year, the meetings, the listening, talking sessions that we actually had with our community, I think were very impactful useful and beneficial in some of this being moved forward. And so I do want to say thank you to the PTO, current and former, who are not here tonight. But I do think that was really instrumental in helping us keep our IB PYP programming. So just a big thank you and kudos to your efforts and work and advocacy of our school and programming. So I greatly appreciate that. That's all. Just a big thank you.
Not to quash the positivity here, because I think it's great, but I do see that in the literature, it does specifically just call out 2021, 22. Do we have a sense of that? It's not, I know I'm not asking for in perpetuity keeping IB necessarily, but
Yep.
it's not just a matter of kicking the can down the road and they're going to phase it out after they get through the other priorities of 2020, 2021. Is it?
So it's 2020 and nothing is for certain. I'll just say that, but PYP, or not just PYP, IB is at the middle schools, IB is at the high schools. I think in the communication that I got, it's really about equity of programming as well. It's about advanced academics. And I think it's one way to offer that piece to schools. And Whittier also got the same news that we did. And so I'm excited for them to be able to continue. And my understanding is that they're also going to offer the IB programming to a school on the north side. So we'll continue the idea of having one in each zone, 1, 2, and 3. But I also think worst case scenario is it does buy us this, we were worried about this gap year that we'd lose momentum. They put the specialty school status applications on hold. I think in worst case scenario, we have 21, 22. And then we look, if they decide, nope, we're not going to continue it, then, we have our new community on board. They participate in this programming that I think is top notch, and the way kids should, well, for me, it's a good way of teaching and learning, and the way kids should, or build on their natural curiosities. And then we can apply for the specialty school status for 22, 23. But I don't think anything, you're right, Paul. I mean, Paul, you read into that, and it is not necessarily in perpetuity, but I think it buys us some time, or worst case scenario, it buys us some time. Best case scenario, it just continues. Right.
And I think this is a great sentiment to have. I did want to bring to PTO just again an additional sort of just project that we could sort of let sit on the burner for a little bit, not letting go of the idea of preserving efforts to preserve IB, considering that without specialty school status and with the loss of magnet school, there really isn't a funding mechanism apart from just a line item in the budget. And when it's just a standalone line item, those are so much easier to hack at. And I'd just be worried that would be the case post 2021-22. So I'd like to think, and it's important for me again personally because I'm only at the grade 1 level with Silas, and I'd like for him to continue that for it to go into take them through the process here. So it would be good for us to also just keep an ear to the ground on that, so that we're not caught unawares that after 2022 we lose it because they'll say, well, we just don't have the funding now.
Do we know too if there will be any preference given as far as school choice for continuing the IB pathway? I mean, I know that's so early to even think about, but now this area, like Sanford is the IB middle school, and the attendance zone for Bancroft is not the attendance zone for Sanford. So it's
correct.
It's definitely like a little bit haphazard now as far as who gets IB.
I'll add it to my list of questions that I don't have answers to.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about with that? All right. Okay, so quick update on meal box pickups. They've added snacks this week. So super snacks, high protein items, fruits and veggies. The menu's online. We are still not a pickup site. So that's all I got for that.
Do we want to touch on the survey results?
Oh, we didn't.
Brianna and Nova, do you guys want to do that?
We can try. She might announce to everybody her potty training success these days. Sorry about that. So gosh, I'll try. Diego, you might have your stats written down. So we had a fairly high percentage of our families respond. We had a lot of AEs making phone calls. And so the Monday that it closed, so we got another about 100 from that. So I think it's over 300 responses.
370 responses.
370, which is great. And so I felt like we felt like we were able to represent at least 370 of our families or of our students. We had about 50%, like 47 to 49%, I believe, who selected that they would like to stay in full distance learning. And then the other percentages, Diego, you'll have to jump in on. I don't remember them fully.
It was 28% chose their preference would be in-person learning. And then 24%, I believe it was, chose some hybrid as their preference. And I know at our last, I believe it was our last PTO meeting, there was a lot of conversation around the survey itself, or maybe it was site council that we just had it was site council around the survey. How are they calculating the qualitative measures or the open-ended question that was there? And so there was a lot of those questions. And I know Eric Moore, who's the senior officer in the REA department, they were still working on calculating the qualitative data from those surveys. And so I'm just, I'm happy that we had like double the responses that the district as a whole had. And that was also the work of the AEs and just, coordinating that to make sure we were getting a hold of families and having their voice heard. And so to have almost 50% choose distance learning, it kind of says two things to me. Number one, that they're appreciative of the distance learning framework that we have set up at Bancroft. And number two, that COVID is a real thing and people are worried to, send their kids back to school. And so I think those are the two things it says to me. But so again, like about 48% chose full-time distance learning, about 28% chose in person, and then the other 25% chose hybrid.
I think that's helpful, and it's exciting that we got that big of a response rate. Diego, if you guys are thinking about doing some sort of family survey in the future, it might be helpful to follow up on time frame, because they didn't give that in the survey, and I think that's important to know in terms of perspectives on what people are thinking. If they need that like now and thinking about that tomorrow, or whether they're thinking more about, I want to make this change from distance to something else in January or February or before the end of the school year would be nice,
And I know that will be, the transition from phase 2 to phase 3 will be part of the discussion in tomorrow's board meeting as well. So I recommend people tuning in for that. And I'll talk more about that at Coffee, Tea, and IB, because I think I'll have more information too after tomorrow's board meeting to share with families.
If anybody wants to see those results, they are I put the link to the MPS board meeting agenda into the chat. So if anybody wants to see those results, I don't know how helpful they are, but you can check them out there.
Yeah, and Mandy, those are the district-wide results.
Yes, that's a district-wide. It's not broken down by school, but it's a little interesting nonetheless. All right. Yes, Nicole, do you want to talk about the Read-a-Thon?
Yeah, so the Read-a-Thon is ending on Wednesday, and Linda, I think that you said that you were planning on sending out that final form again to make sure that teachers send it to families. And the final form, the kids can either fill out the whole thing or just fill out the total minutes and total donations. And I'm hoping to be able to go through everything and get the prizes ready for whenever we're doing the next pickup for materials, which I don't know that that's planned yet, and that's fine. I will just, I will get that whenever we can. And I haven't checked on donations recently.
Online donations are at 1,465, I think,
Okay,
as of right before the meeting.
great. Thank you for looking that up. Yeah, so and if anyone has any questions about the Read-a-Thon.
Nicole, how long do you think you need to prepare like the Read-a-Thon prizes before like we would distribute them?
Yeah, really, as long as I can. So the prizes are all located at the school. So as long as I can get into the school, I have Mondays off. I mean, as long as we have enough forms, I can get it done on Monday. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thanks. We're working on planning our next materials pickup, but it makes sense, of course, to coincide with the Read-a-Thon, and just want to make sure that we're planning it so it works.
And just an FYI, there is a check for the Read-a-Thon in the PTO mailbox. I was in the office last Friday and somebody dropped off a $300 check.
Quiet on the set. That's great.
Yeah, I also have two checks that were mailed to us sometime over the summer from reimbursements for transportation. And technically they're expired, but I don't know if they will still be able to be deposited because they arrived in April, and it's, you know, it says void within 90 days. Another one is same thing, like June, it said void within 90 days. And so it's hopefully they're still be able to be deposited.
We usually are able to call the place and get a new check when that happens, because it just happens because of the nature of the school year sometimes.
Great. So I have those. I have two of those also to pass on to PTO.
And Jason, you know where the PTO mailbox is at the school? If Diego leaves them the checks in there?
Sorry, I don't.
Okay, so it's just with the teacher mailboxes in the main office. If you ask any of the people in the main office, and there's always someone there right now between a certain time that I'm not sure of, but they can help you get to the right spot.
Okay.
Yeah, the advertised times are 9 to 3, where the office is staffed, and I'm usually there from like 8 to 4:30 or 8 to 5. So that's not widely advertised, but you can definitely stop by, and I will help.
Fair warning, I'm not quite sure what that mailbox looks like. Maybe Nicole does, but I know that we have used it to sort of just store some things at the school for future use. Like, so there might be forms or sign up forms and things like that. If you find a mailbox that's overflowing, I'm not quite sure the state of that mailbox, so.
It's very full.
I did take a peek. It's got that big plastic folder that's got some of the stuff that I know you're just kind of keeping there as a place to have it. And then there's some bank statements.
And I know that the Read-a-Thon sheet says that people can bring in their donations in person to the office. If we're sending out more communication, maybe just specifically put like the office hours on that, because I don't think it was listed.
You are correct. It was not listed. So Linda or Paul, whomever is sending out that email, that would be great if we could include that in.
Yeah, I have on my calendar to send out an email blast like on Tuesday night as a reminder to families to wrap up their Read-a-Thon, and I'll include that. Include the hours.
Thanks, Linda.
Anything else for Read-a-Thon? All right. So Nicole, do you want to also maybe talk about Kids Vote as it is getting much closer? I know there were some concerns at the last meeting about the kind of content that teachers were going to be talking about. We did send out our resources in the PTO emails, and I don't know if anyone wants to like share their feedback with how they feel about what their teachers are doing or what they've noticed.
Yeah, no, at the grade 1 level, at least with what I see from Silas's stuff, they've just been talking about the act of the act itself, the act of voting, not necessarily what's going on now. It's just like the why we do it and how we do it, and so I think that was good. So I'd say at grade 1, they dodged anything controversial. I don't know what the rest though.
Yeah, and they're starting a new unit in 3rd grade. And I know there are several 3rd grade parents here about taking action and how we can influence our leaders to do what's best for the people. And the teachers were very clear about, yes, controversial topics will come up and we're going to work together to make space for those. And I think that is appropriate at a 3rd grade level. And I also a 1st grader, and I think that what they're doing is totally appropriate too. So I liked to see the difference in both of those things.
I just saw Sarah's note in chat around not knowing about Kids Vote yet. And I would say I haven't asked Sebastian about that, but I haven't heard them talking about it either. So I can't say for certain if they know about it. I did appreciate the email that came out for the 3rd grade families. I know Merle reached back out to Miss Melson just to offer up, and I don't know, I'll offer him up to Diego too. But he did, because his work is, my partner's work is with the Center for Workers United in Struggle that's down on 38th in Chicago. And their whole mission is around leadership and affecting change. And, and it really, I guess it inspired me because of the letter that I got in terms of what it means to organize with traditionally excluded communities. And he was kind of excited about, if there was interest, he could sort of put together a real simplified, digestible 3rd grade version of some of the work they did, if there was other interest to have like a parent come in and talk about that. I was excited because it's something that he can do outside of his work. So about his work, because that's what gets him excited. But
And you said, Alicia, that he reached out to Miss Melson?
Yeah, and we didn't hear anything back. I mean, so I don't know if she missed it or something. I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
But I'm sure he could, if you're interested. It's pretty amazing what he does. I'm excited always about his work. So.
From the school side, I have shared Nicole's information along with those extra links for the resources with the staff a few times, with the teachers. And I know it was in News and Notes, kind of our Diego's internal weekly newsletter. And I don't know if, I think just Diego and I and Nicole have seen the ballot, and I don't know, I just thought it was really confusing.
Yeah, so I just received that today, and it's much more appropriate for like a high school age group. I just put it in the chat, and so if anyone wants to check that out, Mandy, if you want to present it, you could totally present it to us and walk through. I think,
yeah, I'll try.
yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit more complicated than I want it to be. What it does allow us to do is that they can research the candidates and vote in one spot. And they can choose to vote for whomever they want to vote for, as many areas that they want to vote for. And then that is also aggregated on a live site that we can look at on voting day. And kids can vote from now until November 3rd. I think, I have a 1st and a 3rd grader. I think my 1st grader would have no idea what to do with that site. I think the 3rd grader, if I sat down with them and helped a little bit. This is too, go. Yes. And helped a little bit, that he would be able to get through it. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Mandy, I think it works better if you only have that one window open when you're presenting.
Yeah,
This is just coming from
thanks.
very
This
limited.
is all new to me.
I think with a good instructions at this now, Nicole, and like doing like a little video on how to do it, I think that it would be not too bad. You could make it really simple and just like, focus on like maybe the president and maybe the Senate if you're interested. It looks like
I'm not even sure where to go from here. I'm confused.
So if you click on President of the United States on the left-hand side and wait for everything to load, then you can click on the pictures of the candidates. And then if you scroll down from there, you can,
you could just click on add to my ballot.
Okay.
yeah, you can just click on add to ballot if they already know who they want to vote for, right? And then once you add to the ballot, then they're on the ballot and it's good. And they can vote for just president, or they can vote for lots of different things depending on their knowledge of those topics. And there's, unfortunately, we asked, like the sample ballot they gave us looked like a regular ballot. And so that was confusing then when we got sent this, and it has everything on it, including the 2 referendum topics for Minneapolis that are confusing for grownups. So,
Okay.
so it kind of is what it is. It's a good site. It's a little bit too many clicks.
So is this what teachers will be presenting with their students?
So that would be the hope, is that I think it would work really well 2nd through 5th grade if teachers could, I mean, even 1st grade, if teachers could go in to it in morning meeting and show the process and then have the students do it right after morning meeting one day.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, because I do want the littles to be able to do something, and I could just make a Google form, like a really simple Google form for the littles, or we could just have the teachers do the same thing, go into morning meeting, see if they can get some of those little buddies to do it, and hope for the best. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like the Google form. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, the only thing there is that it would be very difficult to get it counted in the actual aggregated page that student voting does.
Well, I mean, it looks right. It looks like in the process that they don't have to. Anyone participating in this doesn't have to vote on everything. They just pick the one thing and then go on. And so so you add to your ballot and then you cast it. I was just schooling through this myself. I would be open to just making a quick how-to video that we can get to them, just so that it's already there. It's not added. They don't have to make a how-to at each classroom. And then for the littles, for example, for grade 1, maybe all they need is to know the presidential one, because now they get to vote for Kanye West. And then as they climb up the grades, they could consider, the teachers could make the call how many more. But I think it's something that, I mean, I could certainly spin up something real quick and then just get that to Linda, I suppose, to include in the morning info. And then if teachers want to use it as a guide in their meetings, it's there, it's created, and they decide how much of this to expose to the students. How's that sound like for a plan?
I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, okay, that's easy enough.
And it is only a week away, amazingly, finally. So I can give we can give the teachers some preliminary information, some guidance, and then, I mean, I probably will share this link with them and let them know that a video is coming. So they can preview this site, the ballot, and then use the video. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'll spin it up tonight. Yeah, so that it'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It'd be great to have in Seesaw. All right, I'm going to try to take this off the screen now. Oh, there we go. Man, I messed it up, Jason.
You're doing great, Mandy. Don't worry.
Computers are not my favorite. I wish we were all in one room together.
Yes, me too.
Thanks. All right, sweet. Alicia, do you mind doing a quick update on the family directory? And
Sure.
what's happened in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so the family directory's been sent out and I've communicated with all of the families on that product. And then my goal is to update it on a monthly basis. And so I'll probably on a monthly basis, basically what I do is I have a document that I have set up on my home computer that I can just sort of import all of the results from the SurveyMonkey or copy paste them into this Excel spreadsheet. It creates a Word document directory, and then I can just upload that as onto the shared PTO Google folder, and then I just give the families who've added themselves to that access, and then I send them a hard copy update. So I attach it onto that. It's a BCC, and I also let them know that this is the link that they have to access it. So it's, I think, fairly secure. And then those only those families have access to it. And then I plan to have just continue that on a month-to-month basis. I think I've got like somewhere between 5 and 7 new people who've added themselves to the directory. So I think it'll be helpful. We continue to promote that at PTO. I think that probably in the next, at some point in the next month, it might be helpful for us to send together or put together some sort of like, how could we use this directory? Like how are families reaching out to each other, and just give some, like, plant some ideas on for people to know that, like, if we had a couple of families that shared, that I reached out to, and we started a texting loop, and now we're talking to each other about homework, or not homework, but I'm just trying to think of something about classwork, we're doing together. We started like a play date, and we're meeting outside to run around, something like that. I think that will help get families excited and using it. I haven't been reached out to, but I also haven't reached out to anybody either. I'm just haven't gotten there yet, but I think that would be fun to have, is just some examples for families when we send out one of the updates one month. So I don't know if others have questions, thoughts, or ideas on ways we can leverage the family directory and help promote that for the families that have signed up for it.
I do want to mention at the grade 1 level, it seems the faculty are crafting a grade 1 version of this, and they've reached out for parent info for those that want to connect their kids just within grade 1. So there's a variation to the theme right there. It comes out of the parent-teacher conferences. They were saying that people have been asking for ways to reach out. So I thought that would just be something worth mentioning here.
I haven't heard anything about that, but I love that idea. And I wonder if we can try to encourage every grade to do that. If it seems maybe a little bit more, just like a little less overwhelming for people to just do people that they kind of already know from classes versus trying to trawl through the entire school directory. I don't know if having a smaller pool would be more helpful for like encouraging.
I think we could totally check in with those first grade teachers and see how it's going for them. They just put it out today. So, if we check back with them in a couple of weeks, which I'm happy to do because my kiddo's in first grade, and just see, how many names have they gotten? Does it seem like we could replicate this instead in all those grades? Because I agree, it was just really easy. I mean, I filled out the family directory too, but it was very easy for me to just respond quickly to her email this morning. Right. So let's check back in with them. And then if it worked that way, if they got more results, more than 3 kids in each class, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, I would just like to say it'll be helpful to know as soon as because it is a bit of work to put together the directory. And it's funny because first grade was the largest group, I think. I was just like eyeballing it. There was a ton of first grade families in the directory. I do have it sorted by grade because I was thinking about that too, Mandy. I wanted to be able to just look at the third grade families. I do like it in the upper grades to be able to see other third grade families because at this point my kid has been in like 4 different classes and I can pick out the different names in different classes. So I do like that access. But if the teachers want to do that, I am in agreement. I think that, but then I can just stop and that would be way easier than putting it together on a school-wide and relying on.
Well, I think it's a hand in glove kind of effort. I think if first grade is successful in sort of pioneering the use of a directory, then to sort of propagate it throughout the grades with the current full school directory, becomes easier. Kind of sort of just it oils the gears to sort of get people to start thinking about it. And so I do like the idea of finding ways of examples of its use and we've got little play date thing in our own family circle with former classmates, and we're actually trying to broaden it up. So I can say that maybe I'll be able to report something back as an example, particularly as we're approaching these winter months when things are a little bit indoor and we're trying to figure out how to leverage like shared resources among the families, since we all can't go to the Mall of America, and expect to be safe for the first 30 minutes before it gets inundated with people.
One of the things I'm thinking, I'm glad to hear that first grade is doing this, but then as we're looking at that experience and replicating it or promotion, encouraging the other grade teams to replicate it is to look at access and equity, looking at different language groups to make sure that they have information to participate.
Yeah, that's an awesome point.
So would an action item for this be by next meeting? What? Try to come up with anecdotes about its use? Is that an action item from this particular thing?
Yeah, and maybe follow up on the first grade effort, see how that's going, and like try to have some actual data from that experiment and see if we can replicate that or encourage other teachers to do it.
And I think even by data, it could be just 2 to 4 stories about ways that parents have used it. I think it should come out as stories, and I think that that'll be nice to hear, just like ways in which parents have reached out to each other. Because I think it is intimidating to blindly reach out to families, and we don't have like a way to facilitate that real well. But I think if we get some ideas, there might be a couple of brave parents out there that'll just, send out hey, here's an idea from PTO I thought I might try.
I emailed the people in my kids' grade, but I also have a first grade kid and I haven't heard anything about a group getting together. But now my family's in quarantine because my son was exposed to coronavirus at daycare, so we're out for a little while, but people were excited.
Awesome. I mean, not about coronavirus. I'm sorry. But do we have anything else we want to say on that, or are we pretty much covered? Nope. All right. Treasury updates.
Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
I can hear myself through there. I haven't had a chance to connect with Kimberly. I've just taken over the treasury role. And we have a meeting scheduled for Friday to sort of discuss the transition and hand over the role fully. So I think on the last meeting there was talk about potentially a presentation this meeting on sort of a financial update, but just haven't had time to figure it out on my own just yet and want to connect with Kimberly. So I plan to be able to present for next meeting. In fact, I have a week's vacation next week, just to burn some up, and plan to spend a good amount of time on it next week. So if there's any questions or thoughts about that, I'm happy to field them. I guess I'll pause there before I say the next one. Okay. Then the second thing was that I had emailed the officers about 2 pending expense requests, and didn't hear anything. And I feel like that silence warrants approval, or equals approval, is what we discussed on a transition meeting that a few of us had, Alicia and V. Paul, Mandy, and I. But just want to, since I'm brand new to that role, just wanted to bring forth those 2 requests to the group to see if there was any thoughts or feedback. And those specific expenses were, Sue Francis had purchased some books for the 4th and 5th graders. It was about $135. There's an invoice that was attached to an email I sent out. Any objections to PTO covering that one?
I think they're all good.
Okay, great. And then the other one was from Principal DePaz, about covering the cost of the blue tote bags used to distribute materials. It was about $900.
I'll give an update on that. The school ultimately paid for those.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So you can take that one off of your list.
Great. Thank you so much.
Can I ask, Diego, was that because of a delay on our end, or was there a decision made that you had the money, or that was the right way to pay for it?
All the above.
Okay.
And so the invoice was from August, and so I wanted to make sure that it was paid. This is a gentleman we've used for other purchases, and I just want to stay in good standing with him. And each school was given close to $2,000 for distance learning expenses. And so I chalked that one up as a distance learning expense to make sure our students got their materials. And so granted, I didn't want to necessarily spend almost half of it on bags to distribute materials, but it fell under that scope. So
I would bet that if you found another distance learning cost that you needed, that was whatever, we would cover that at PTO. So,
and I'll make sure that I'm more timely too with my submissions, so they don't need to be paid immediately.
We'll be running like a well-oiled machine again soon. So
Great.
I think.
Okay. If there's no questions from you, then that ends my part.
I guess I have a question, because we were talking about financial reporting and like what kind of reporting we should be doing, and like, is that something that's available for the Bancroft community to see, or is that something that's internal only for the PTO? I mean, does anyone have any guidance on that part?
You know, last year we broadcast that stuff, so I would say we were pretty transparent. I'd say it's pretty public. I mean, if it made it into the meeting, it made it into the broadcast. I would ask people to submit their documents that they wanted to be part of the broadcast, so I could digitize them in a way that they would stream. And so Kimberly's forms would just go out in the stream.
Yeah, as a nonprofit organization, we do have to be pretty transparent with our budget and our reporting. And so totally fine. And I know that you haven't gone over this yet with Kimberly, but Kimberly has a budget form that probably needs to be revised, especially now. But that's usually what she updates every meeting and shows us. And again, don't worry about it. Not a big deal right now. We're not even spending any money, very much money right now. But she'll show you that. And I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, great. Thank you.
something B. Paul brought up in our emails that I thought was a really good thing to address in the meeting is the MFT work to rule that was in a press release, I believe, from MFT 59 this past week. So the idea that, first off, the teachers are wanting the districts to work with them as like co-partners and co-creators in creating, how they teach, in creating, getting back to in-person learning. And then also wanting more schedule flexibility to meet with families and students during the day instead of having to work to do all this extra stuff outside of their contracted hours. And I don't know a ton about this other than what was in the press release, but V. Paul suggested it was something that we have up for discussion, just about like, I feel like I support this, absolutely. Just as a parent on my own and just seeing how hard the teachers are working right now. But it does seem like if the teachers are, only working their contracted workday, that there are maybe going to be some trade-offs that parents are going to have to adjust to as they like negotiate this. So V. Paul, can you talk about what your teachers sent out? Because I haven't heard anything other than what I've read online.
Right. Yeah. And so, and let me just sort of, to give context, my intent with raising it as an agenda item was more informational than actionable. I wasn't necessarily thinking that PTO would invest an effort in this the same as with CDD, but I think it would be important for PTO to sort of help provide clarity if that becomes a thing. And so I actually didn't know anything about this until I received an email saying that literally kind of pretty much what this says. The Federation is doing a work to rule effort. They want to be at the table with discussions for in person. And so the first two, just with the email as the only context, I wasn't sure if striking is too strong of a word, but is it down that particular line in terms of effort, for encouragement, the quote unquote encouragement part of it. And then the only other part of the email that sort of came to attention, we love our teacher. Silas is thriving in this environment. But the notion that one of the things that was such a vast improvement over last year was the rigor that is back in his schoolwork. It's certainly there. And so I was concerned that what would that mean to the rigor and the feedback, because it's all been good. So really it was, I just wanted to bring it to the PTO's attention to see if anyone else has been receiving this kind of communication, and then how do we just make sure there's clarity out there so there's no misinformation. That's truly what I was hoping for.
I can fill some of this in. And I do want to say that I know, Diego and Brianna, you're doing all you can and being as flexible as possible, and it has nothing, the issues are not regarding Bancroft specifically. Ed Graff has said that the union representative does not belong at the table when deciding whether to go back to in-person learning. And there have been lots of issues regarding this. The union does want to go into formal negotiations with the district, and the district has refused that. And so you're not wrong, V. Paul, that like when teachers start going to work to rule is what it's called, which almost no teacher works to rule usually. When teachers go to that, they are saying to the district, we're fed up, we're only going to do what you're paying us to do, which of course is not enough hours to do it very well as an educator. And so as employees, we're all hoping that the district can start working with the union better so that it does not lead to a strike. But this is kind of that first like really strong pushback from teachers. And so I was grateful that the teacher let us know what was happening so that we would know what to expect. Yeah, but I think, the things that they're talking about, like having 1 day a week of flexible scheduling, that part makes sense, and they would be able to do more rigorous things on that day and communicate with parents. So there's a lot going on back here, and it's been kind of building ever since we started distance learning. So yeah, hopefully that puts some perspective to it.
I appreciate that perspective, Nicole. I think when I hear about this, I think a lot about how hard it is to do all of this, and so much that's being expected from teachers, and I want to be able to support them in this effort. So like when I hear communication like this, it's pushing me to do something about it. And I think that a powerful thing parents could do is write the school board and say that they support their teachers in this effort. I don't think that teachers can ask parents directly to do that, but as PTO or as just a fellow parent, I won't be afraid to ask anybody to do that if you want to support your teachers and being able to negotiate. I think with the school board, they need to be a part of this conversation just as much as everyone else. So I think if you have a minute and you can email the school board on that, and you, because you might agree that you should go ahead and do so, so that way that school board knows that parents are also paying attention, and we care about our teachers just as much. I think there's been I'm reading a lot around this lately, and I feel like there's been this push to somehow blame teachers for the crappy situation this is in. And I think that that's a really unfair scenario. And again, I don't think that this is reflective at all of Bancroft or the community of Bancroft. And I think it seems that this is just Bancroft's participation in a wider conversation across the district. And I think that's important. So.
Does anybody have something? I'm just trying to capture it in the notes without sort of, just neutrally. And is there anything I can link to? I can't, but just if people wanted to read more about this, or that we can discuss for the live stream, if people, I haven't received this letter or any communication about it. So
I think there's probably something on MFT website, Sarah.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay, I'll look.
Well, I think this is great. I mean, this is exactly what I was sort of looking for, because I certainly don't have the institutional knowledge to sort of know what some of these things mean. And so maybe it certainly could be the kind of thing where just the set of information Nicole provided and the perspective that Alicia provided, we distill that, and that goes out to our parent email list to sort of, so that they have this understanding. And so that when they start to receive emails from their teachers, they're not going to be as out of left field as I was when I got mine. I just sort of understand what's going on, and I think that context is great. And I'm betting you that parents are getting all the experiences they want out of their teachers, and would side with them, and would contact council members if that's an action that was not asked of them, but that we would sort of encourage. If you get this email and you want information and you want to support your teacher, just email the council member and say that. And so that could be certainly something that's in our bucket as well.
Yeah, I think especially suggesting ways that parents can take action, and what are the action items we can do, would be something really helpful, because a lot of people don't know exactly how they can help or how they can support their teachers. That makes sense. There is the MFT 59 Facebook page has the press release, and I could not find it on their website. So, but if anyone does find it or any more information, I would be really happy to read as much as I can.
There is also a video that Kara Levin did. They did a quick video, and I believe the union president, Greta Callahan, was speaking on that kind of spoke about a few things as well within that. So
awesome. Thank you.
Let's see. What if we spend just the next couple of weeks, if we just sort of just do our own little investigating, just collect, if you're getting stuff from your teachers, or if we're digging, and then maybe in 2 weeks time off cycle via email, we can consider what kind of bulk email to put out to our parent list. or, to the email list that we have access to. Any comment on that, or should I be making a motion?
I guess it'll take like what, maybe 2 weeks or so. Try to get, I don't know.
It's part of me, we could wait out till the next cycle, certainly, but I just don't know. We got our email last week, so I don't know what that means.
I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn because I have no idea what it's like, but I don't know that. I think it might be a teacher's choice to participate and send an email to families, so people may or may not get those. And I think that, because it's kind of a bold and scary move to step up in this way. And I think that there's an intimidation factor. So I think if you do happen to get an email and you want to support your teacher, just saying thank you and I support you in response to that. And then there's links here that we could say, here's some things to learn more about what this means and what on the greater district level. Just some thoughts from my end, but I don't know if every parent would be expecting to see an email. This isn't necessarily, I think this is a choice that teachers are making individually to share whether or not they want to participate in this action. So
Yeah, I agree. But also we should probably give out information sooner rather than later, just so that parents are aware of what the teachers might be attempting to do and they're not getting maybe frustrated with what they see as a lack of communication, or if they see a lack of maybe more in-depth activities. So I just want to make sure that there isn't any backlash against teachers in that way.
I don't know if we can do this as PTO, but I would like to come out in support of teachers on this. Personally, and if PTO is willing or interested in doing that, we don't have full participation here, but that might be something that we could share out if others are interested.
I don't think it's inappropriate for PTO to sort of communicate that, but I do think what's an easier first step for us is the info gathering and just having the context and being able to share that out. I think that's probably just an easy thing to do. And you're right. Or not, you're right, because I've just learned something new again, and that's that the teachers are going to be participating in their own way. Not everyone's going to get the same email that we got. So now that sort of makes sense to me now to hear that. The flip side is, my goal in raising it here was how do we just get information to parents so that they're not as confused as I was when the email arrives. That's A, and then B, considering that there is this effort, we probably could just share out that A, there's this effort, B, this is what work to rule means, C, these are ways that you could step up, and it could be as simple as emailing your teacher, all the way up to emailing a council person, or if parents want to, those that have the means or the time want to sort of get involved in classes in a way to sort of help lighten the load in a little bit, even. So I think there's a whole gamut, there's a whole range here that is open to us. But the first step is just, let's get our ducks in a row so we're not completely confused ourselves.
Who's going to take on that action?
I'm happy to dig, but I think we could just start an email chain off cycle, just everyone sort of contributes. I don't think we're not going to start subcommitteeing this thing, but it's on our plate. Let's just take a look at it. And if someone, maybe we just learn that other teachers have sent it out and then we realize, okay, it is kind of throughout the school or it's not, and it's not that much of a worry, but at least we have the information.
The one thing that I will say is, and I'm not sure if this is what you're referring to or not, VPAL is, my understanding is that certain teachers who have decided to participate have put on an auto response outside of their work hours. So if you had sent an email after 4 p.m. on Friday, which I did, I then got a bunch of responses back with kind of a similar message. And so that could also be, so maybe per se, it could be that, and I don't know the situation specifically to your child's classroom, but if you were to have sent an email, it would have come back to you, but it wasn't a whole class email. And so I think that's also at times, I don't know if there's emails going to full classrooms, but I just want to throw that out there. So maybe one first grade parent got it and maybe not another due to the out of office replies that are happening.
That makes sense. The initial email was a mass email, like for your information, this is what's happening. I just want you to sort of know, right? And then I did get at a separate email. I did get an auto reply that came back blank actually. So I was confused about why did this auto reply come back with 0 text, and so now I've learned a third thing about this process, and that's what that is. But yeah, so I feel like I've got new info. How do we get that to other people to understand? Yeah.
Just from what I know from the teachers, it is opt-in, how they're participating. Some are doing the out of office email. Some are being proactive and emailing their students. Some are waiting. It's like, if they're asked, they have the reason. The other thing is I think their MFT is reevaluating in a couple weeks, depending on what happens over the next couple weeks. So I think action sooner, letters sooner rather than later.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's also a good thing to know, and maybe by PTO sort of being a little more getting info to not give out misinformation. It's A, and then B, maybe doing just a small PTO email list about it is enough to sort of give the teachers the confidence, the boost, the shield to know that they've got parents behind them, and then that would allow them to participate in a way that they would be more readily for. Particularly if this is a timely type of effort.
I think we could do that. I agree with that, Paul. I think that we'll be able to quickly find some places to point people to and information gather. It's all on MFT's website here. I think we'll be able to just pull out some things, and if we could do a quick email out or a Facebook, post too. I think that those are 2 easy ways that we can just show support and share information about what this means.
So why don't we do this just to sort of put a bow on it, because I know we're at time and I don't want to overextend here, but maybe all of us, those who want to, just do a little bit of digging on our own, and then Friday we could start an email chain and see about timing out something for the following Friday. Make it a pre-weekend type thing rather than front loading the week with it.
Yeah, works for me. All right. So it is 7:06. If anyone has anything else, the only thing that I wanted to bring up is that Sarah looks like she logged off, but she is looking for a replacement as secretary. So I know there's not a lot of people here, but if anyone is out there watching this live stream or watching this later, please contact us if you're interested. Let's see. Next meeting is Monday, November 30th.
I'm wondering if we could get the link emailed to us a few days prior, at least, so we can get it up on our website and such as well. And maybe I missed it, but I'm not sure this time. So if we could get it even just like the week before, so we can share it with our staff as well as getting it up on our website and everything, so people have time to prepare for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not prepared for another meeting in 3 weeks, I think. So
you're all good. You're all good. It's just a request. So
it's snuck up on me.
Everybody's doing a great job.
Well, and that's coming off the Thanksgiving holiday break. And so we need to make sure we advertise that sooner than later, before the 30th, obviously, because that week of Thanksgiving, I think we have 2 days in class or in session.
Okay, so maybe we can just internally make a schedule about when we want these postings to go out and just make sure they go out at least a couple times well in advance, and then right before maybe. All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you dealing with all of my technical difficulties.
Grace and flexibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you all for your support of Bancroft School.
Thanks, Diego.
Thank you.
Thanks to you guys also.
Take care.
Good night.